Welcome back to the Rebuilt Parish podcast. As we continue on with our discussion about leadership, today we are talking about leading with mission, vision, and values. In the studio today, we've brought back Father Michael White, pastor at Church of the Nativity, where he shares all about crafting a mission and leading through mission, vision, and values. Make sure to listen in for why he thinks mission, vision, and values are so important for decision making. And stay all the way to the end to hear what resources he recommends. And we've got a free resource for you in the show notes and at the end of this episode too. Hi there, Father Michael. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks. It's so nice to be with you, Melissa. How are you?
I am great, thanks. How have you been? How's your summer?
Summer is hot, hot, hot here in Baltimore.
Oh my goodness. We're having a hot one here in upstate New York too. And I got to be honest, I love it. I'm here for it.
No kidding. I've had enough.
Well, we have a pretty long winter around here, so I get very excited when we actually have a hot summer. Last summer, we didn't see many days above 80 degrees. So
oh my gosh.
I'll take it. Well, I'm excited that we get to talk today, and I feel like this topic is perfect for you because you have been a trailblazer with this in the Catholic Church. And today we're talking about mission, vision, and values. And when I think of a parish that just does an excellent job with this, it's Nativity. So I'm grateful that you're here with us to talk about just these three topics.
Well, of course, they are critical to any kind of growth and success in the life of your parish, but they're so often neglected or simply overlooked. I think most every parish I know has a mission statement. Usually it's plastered on the wall in their office or on the cover of their bulletin. But too often they're wordy, they're needlessly complex. They're hard to remember, easy to forget. They're not useful in that sense. I mean, we all have the same mission. We just keep it as simple as can be. Love God, love others, make disciples. And in one form or another, however you want to say that, that's our mission. But
Absolutely.
If it's lost in a complex kind of mission statement, then it becomes less useful for you.
I completely agree. And as you were describing what many parishes' mission statements look like, I was in my head going, check, 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 because those were all things that our parish mission statement was before we began coaching with Rebuilt. It was probably 3 paragraphs long. Nobody could remember it. It was overly complex. It wasn't useful.
I'm guessing that it was the product of a committee effort.
I'm sure it was.
And so everybody in the committee has their hobby horse and wants their phraseology in it. And so the compromise is not very useful as a result.
Right.
You have to be uncompromising when it comes to your mission statement. It needs to be clean and clear as can be, because it's been given to us by our founder.
Right.
It's been given to us by Jesus Christ. So it's not ours to formulate.
Right. Absolutely.
Vision is different. Vision, I think, a lot of parishes don't have vision. They're not exactly sure what it is or how to pursue it. Vision is the how of what we're going to do, the way forward. Vision's a conception of what doesn't exist, but could exist and should exist.
That is a great point. And I'm with you. Many parishes don't have that.
Values, of course, hopefully all parishes have values, but maybe they don't always and everywhere have complete values or the right values, or they're valuing things that maybe they shouldn't be valuing and failing to value things that are essential and key. So that's a kind of gray area, I think, for a lot of parishes. They have values. Everybody has values,
Right.
but are they the right values, ordered in the right way?
Right. Well, you've done such a great job of communicating in your parish. I would love to know, how did you begin? Really, how did it start? How did you communicate this new mission once you came up with it, or once you connected those dots? How did you communicate that with your parish?
Frankly, we probably didn't communicate it very well because we weren't very good at communication getting started. We probably could have been much more effective in the communication of our mission and vision. But we eventually learned that you just drive it through the whole organization. I mean, besides putting it on your walls and on the cover of your bulletin, which we don't even have a bulletin, so we can't do that, but on your website and in your preaching, in your, small group content, it just keeps showing up again and again. In your meeting with ministers, in your fundraising, it just keeps showing up again and again. Fundraising is a good example. We're looking to raise some money for some new construction. We have to go back to the mission and the vision. Why would we be doing this? Just because we want a new building? No, because it's serving our mission and our vision, and it's according to our values.
That's so when you asked that, my next question was going to be, can you share examples of how your mission and vision have guided your decision making?
Sure. Of course, my favorite example, which I come back to over and over again, is Christmas Eve at the fairgrounds.
Yes.
As probably everybody who's with us today knows the story of Nativity, leaving our campus on Christmas Eve at a certain point in time and going to the Maryland State Fair across the street to have Mass in the Cow Palace at the State Fair. And that was a really radical move when we took it. A lot of people were not happy with it at all. Some people even left the parish. Others kind of protested in their own sorts of ways. But it was a decision that was guided by mission, vision, and values. What are we doing on Christmas Eve? How are we making disciples? How are we engaging people? How are we serving the unchurched who actually will come to church on Christmas Eve, the one day of the year that they will come to church? So that was a mission-driven decision. And you know what? It gives you the fortitude to make difficult decisions.
Yes.
If you know what your mission is, if you know what your vision is, and you understand your values, then you can more easily make the right decision and stick with it, even when it's not popular, even when other people don't share your vision or your values.
Absolutely. And that's such a great point right there. If you know who you're for and what you're for and what that mission is, you can make those decisions regardless of what other people are saying. But then the flip side of that is it pays off, because what happened as a result of that? What kind of growth happened in your parish after making that mission-led decision?
Exactly. I just had lunch and was meeting with two parishioners who are just great parishioners, exactly the kind of parishioners that every pastor dreams of. And they were remembering a homily that I gave a number of years ago in which I challenged people into ministry. And I said in that homily, and I'd forgotten that I said this, but they reminded me, I said in that homily, I want you to get up out of the pews and start serving in a ministry here at this parish. Or I want you to get up out of your pew and give it to somebody else who will serve.
Whoa. So, what was the result of that one?
Some people stormed out, but this particular couple turned to each other and said, "He's right, we need to serve."
Ah,
And
that's so impactful.
with tears in her eyes, the wife said to me, "You changed our lives."
Amazing.
But that was because we had mission, vision, and values in line, and we were willing to act on them and stick with them, regardless of however unpopular the consequences might be.
Right. And so you changed their lives. And we know that when people start serving, they're more inclined to join a small group and they're more inclined to share in their faith and engage in each of those steps of discipleship. So
Exactly right.
when I think about how if they're more likely to share their faith, then how many more people have they brought to Christ because of that challenge right there, based on your knowing of your mission, vision, and values for the parish? Amazing. Well, we know that we have a lot of parish leaders, staff members, volunteers that tune in to our community, whether it's the podcast or the workshops. How could we give them just an idea on how they could be consistent with their decisions, with making mission-based decisions?
Well, I think that you just have to be disciplined. I think it's a matter of discipline. When you're in a parish, when you're a parish staff person, when you're a pastor, you're going to have requests coming at you from every different direction. You're going to have needs presented to you that are oftentimes urgent needs that must be met. You're going to have things that you would like to do, maybe that you enjoy doing. You have to be disciplined enough to put that under the microscope of your mission, vision, and values. We currently have a very big opportunity, you might say, as a parish that's been presented to us. And I'm not at liberty to say what that is in any details, but it's a pretty big opportunity. And we're currently having a very serious and extended conversation about, does it fit with our mission, our vision, and our values? At face value, it just looks like an exciting opportunity that, of course, we want to take, because it could be exciting, it could be fun, it could be challenging, it could lead to many good things. But pause. Does it align with our mission? Does it align with our vision? Does it align with our values? And that's the conversation that we're currently having. And we had an hour and a half meeting about that yesterday, and the conversation was all over the place. And we realized that we're going to have a moderated conversation about this. We're going to have to bring in somebody else to help us out with this discussion, because this is so consequential, and there are so many different views on it.
Wow.
Discipline yourself with your mission, vision, and values.
That's such great advice, especially because when you're so secure in your mission, vision, and values, you can use that as your guidepost for everything. The fact that you are still using that today for big decisions, that's incredible. That's such helpful advice. Thank you.
At the same time, though, you need to use it for little decisions too. I was just talking to our youth minister, and he said, he really felt like the last couple of days, he's just lost entirely. He had so many things going on. And so I asked him, well, what kind of things did you have going on? Because it should be slow season in terms of our student programs and our kid programs. And he started listing some of the things. And I asked him, do you need to do all the things that you're doing? Is that really aligned with, what you're about as the leader of youth ministry at this parish? And so we had a real good discussion along those lines. Big decisions, little decisions, they all can be guided by a disciplined focus on mission, vision, and values.
And you've used the word alignment multiple times, and I think that's critical for people to hear, that whatever you do should be in alignment with the mission, the vision, and the values. And that's one great way to ensure that you're not getting burnt out. Because we know when you work for a parish, there's so many things you would love to do, but if you chased everything that was presented to you, it can be exhausting, and that's how parish staffs can burn out.
Yeah, I think that's a really major point, Melissa, that it's so easy to lose sight of and so hard to hold on to because, as parish workers, you know this too, we're people pleasers.
Yes.
We want to please people. We want to say yes.
Yep.
And it feels good when we do so. And it brings immediate rewards because the other parties are happy.
Right.
And that makes us feel good. But to focus on mission, vision, and values, it oftentimes is going to lead to no, or
Right.
not now, or not yet.
And I think that makes our job so much simpler when we have that as our guidepost. It helps us answer those questions either yes, no, or not yet. That's such a great point. Well, I would love to know, you've built such an incredible community at Nativity. Have you involved them at all in defining and living out the mission and the vision? When you crafted the vision at first, did you bring the community in? What did that look like?
Well, I think I think that its foundation was in our preaching and our teaching. It started there, and it's a question of repeating it 64,000 times. We like to say that's obviously an exaggeration, but there's truth behind it. Just to repeat it often enough that the people themselves can repeat it for themselves, and that they're the ones who are preaching it for you. That's when you know that it's really taken root, when you hear other people saying it.
Right.
I love to walk by our welcome center and just kind of eavesdrop on some of the conversation that our host ministers are having with newcomers and visitors, and just hear them articulate mission, vision, and values. As people say, well, what is this parish all about? What's going on here? And where did this all come from? To hear them be able to articulate what we're all about. That's when you know that it's really taken root.
That's incredible. And as you had said before, many parishes, they've got such a long mission statement that, people can get lost in it. But the fact that you've crafted yours biblically, where your volunteer ministers can just spout it off like that and then can share the vision and what the values are, that's incredible. You've made it simple for them so that it can be duplicated.
That's right. They've made it simple, made it easy to understand, make it accessible and repeatable, as you say.
Well, we know that not everything is easy, and sometimes we do have challenges. What challenges have you faced aligning the parish with mission and vision, and how did you overcome those?
Sure. I think I can remember one example in particular. It's painful to remember, but it is a perfect example. We had a music director who was extremely talented, really brilliant, I would say. And he was focused on building a very beautiful choral program, traditional choral music with a men and boys choir. And I loved it, frankly. That's my preferred style of worship. And I was determined that we were going to do this, even as we were making so much progress in other areas. I just thought, the beauty, the tradition of this kind of sacred music is something that should be a part of who we're about. And frankly, to this day, I still wish it was, and try to slip it in wherever I can. But it became clear after a while that it was just not working. We had this 10 o'clock Mass on Sunday mornings and nobody would be there. And then we'd have the worship and praise music, at the later Mass, and it would be standing room only.
Wow.
So that's telling you something about your community and what's working in your community. And part of our vision is to make disciples right here in Timonium. And if traditional chant, polyphony, is not going to attract Timonium Tim, then we've got to find a different way if we want to stay true to our vision. And so it was very, very painful for me to take down that program and to go in a different direction.
I think you're sharing an example that many parish leaders and pastors are facing right now, and that's taking their own preferences, but shifting their decisions based on their mission, vision, and values for what their target demographic is going to be attracted to.
I think, and I say this to pastors specifically, your parish life cannot be driven by your preferences.
Right.
By your taste, by your style. It took me a long time to learn that. And it's a very hard lesson to learn because, every pastor knows exactly what kind of parish and what kind of liturgy and what kind of worship he wants, just like every young lady knows exactly what kind of wedding she wants. It's already in our heart. Nobody's going to tell us anything because we already know what we want. But if it's not subjected to mission, vision, and values, then you're just serving yourself.
Oh, that's such a great point. Then you're just serving yourself, and that's not what we're here for at all. That's such a great point to hit home. Well, I would love to give our parishes out there just some guidance. If they're working on crafting this mission and vision and, putting their values down on paper, how often should they be reviewing these to see, one, if they've got the right mission, vision, and values, and two, if they're working in alignment with these? What do you recommend?
Well, that's a really good question, and I think that it varies greatly depending upon the parish and where you are in the journey of your rebuilding. If you're solidly set in your mission and your vision is clear, and it's clear that you're serving that vision in an effective way, then it probably doesn't have to be reviewed very often. If you're not serving in an effective way, then it probably needs to be reevaluated in some way. Part of our vision is to help other churches elsewhere love God and make disciples. And that's an ongoing challenge for us. And it feels like it's kind of effective, even with, exercises like this. But it's an ongoing evaluation for us because it's so new for us.
Right. Right. Well, that's a great point, is that if their mission, vision, and values are clear and effective, they're working.
That's right.
If they're not, then that is where they should evaluate. That's amazing.
That's right. So I think it's more, rather than suggest, an annual or a regular kind of review of these three, I think it's more a question of keeping your pulse on what's working and what's not working. And if it's not working, why is it not working? How is it not aligned to your vision? Or how is your vision not aligned to the reality at hand?
Right. So good. Well, I think I didn't ask this, and I'm curious now. When did you put this mission into place? Do you remember?
I don't remember specifically, actually.
Okay.
I think in studying other churches, it became clear on the one hand that their missions were poorly stated, and on the other hand, that simpler was better. And so that kind of just emerged: love God, love others, make disciples. The vision, I think, was more of an ongoing work in progress as we came to understand that we're all about making disciples here in North Baltimore and helping other churches elsewhere to do the same. I think that was like piece by piece we came into that specific fashioning of our vision. We're making disciples. That was clear. We're making disciples in North Baltimore. That, only became clear to us. And helping other churches to do the same elsewhere was kind of like a third piece that we eventually saw as clearly part of what God was calling us to do.
I love the point that you made.
That's another thing, too, that, if your vision is God honoring, it's God given.
Yes. Yes, that is such a great point is, what is God calling your parish to do? And there's a lot of prayer and reflection that goes into creating your mission, vision, and values right there.
Right.
So what resources or tools would you recommend to a parish who's maybe looking to start crafting their own mission, vision, and values?
Melissa, how about Rebuild?
I agree with you. I think, not just the original one too. I think Tools for Rebuilding is a good one. I think the Field Guide is another good one. I mean, those are just off the top of my head, ones
and
that I would
Rebuild Faith,
recommend.
I think, is helpful in its own kind of way for this effort too. What
I
are we
agree.
about? What are we doing as individuals? That how are we missionally driven as Christ followers?
Absolutely, I agree with you. I will.
No, but there are plenty of other great resources out there as well. I would point people in the direction of our publisher, Ave Maria Press. They just have great resources for parish life.
I'm adding a note to myself right now to put all of those Rebuilt books we mentioned in the show notes and to put Ave Maria's website in the show notes as well. So that way, when you take a look at those, you'll be able to click and get all of those resources. Father Michael, thank you so much for joining us. Anything else you want to say about the mission and vision and values in a parish?
No, I think that if you're clear about those three, it makes parish work much easier, and beyond that, even a real joy.
I agree. Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on here today and for sharing with everyone. And to all of our listeners, thank you for being a part of this community. We have a free resource for you, as we love to provide these in all of our podcast episodes. If you visit the show notes or go to rebuiltparish.com/leadership evaluation, you can receive our free leadership evaluation so that you can start making moves in leadership in your parish. And we'll even help you get started with some low-hanging fruit for an action plan for you. Well, again, thank you, Father Michael. Great having you here, and we'll be seeing you soon.
See you, Melissa.
Thanks, everybody.